Monday, June 9th, 7:02 p.m. We're here for the town council meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
William Dietzick.
Here.
James Morelli.
Here.
Tony Morrison.
Here.
Christopher Palmieri.
Here.
Jack Perry.
Here.
Jennifer Klock.
Here.
Michael Del Santo.
Present.
Valerie DiPaolo. Here. Paul Chaplinsky.
Here. We have 9 council people. Glad to see everybody. Hope everybody had a great holiday. And can we all please stand for the prayer and the flag salute?
Heavenly Father, give us grace tonight to understand that the impact we make upon this community is not just for today, but for the generations who will follow us. Help us do what is right, and if need be, courageous. We commit ourselves, our decisions, and the town of Southington under your care. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to start off by having a presentation by the Southington Police Department and our STEPS program. So if you guys want to come on up to the podium.
Good evening, Town Council. Captain Jim Armack, we have Megan Albanese from our STEPS Coalition, and
Hey.
John Jones from Mountainside.
Good to meet you.
Sit next. So if you recall, about 2 years ago, I came before the council asking for approval for some money for some forensic software using opioid settlement funding. Since then, myself, Megan, the town manager, have been hard at work trying to figure out what we're going to do with this opioid settlement funding, try to take a well-rounded approach with it. The numbers you see there aren't numbers coming to Southington. Those are the large numbers that this settlement produce. We get small amounts of money throughout the year. That money ends up at the end of the year, and we're expected to continue to get money till 2038. So far, we've purchased cell phone forensic software, allowing to further drug investigations and overdose drug-related crimes. We have had some great successes with that. One recently where, because of this software, we're probably going to be able to make an arrest on an opioid-related death in town. We've been purchasing naloxone doses. Those have been distributed to the police department, the fire department, and our community at large. If anybody needs naloxone, it's readily available to any of our residents to keep at home. If they do have someone that's using opioids in their household or have a friend that they know that's using opioids. It covers expense related to our prevention program, C3, and then this is our newest initiative, which is the CROSS program. So the police department had something called the HOPE policy. What that was is, how many years ago did we launch that?
About 8.
Maybe about 8 years ago, where officers would encounter someone that was addicted to drugs or alcohol or needed help, wanted rehabilitation, and they would basically do a handoff to our local emergency room or a different emergency room around the state. What we found there is that it was well-intentioned and the person was ready to get help, but they often found barriers of health insurance. If you don't have health insurance and you go to the hospital, there's not too much other than a couple cards or a couple of referrals that they were giving people. So I think myself, Alex, and Megan just kind of thought, like, how could we really get people help? And this is what we came up with. I reached out to 4 or 5 different private treatment centers throughout the state of Connecticut. Of those 4 or 5, John was the only one that responded to me that would like to partner with our town in order to get people into recovery. So how this program works is the officer will respond to an overdose, or shockingly, the program's been in effect for about a year now, and we're finding that it's not just drug-related overdoses, it's domestic disputes, where basically the reason for the domestic dispute is drug addiction or alcohol addiction. And the officers really, I got to give them credit because they're buying into it. They're offering it to people. They could see the true problem within the family, and they're trying to get people help. The officer basically has a screening form, and if they screen in, they're addicted to drugs, they'll immediately be sent to John's facility in Mountainside. He has set his facility up to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning and there's someone that's ready, willing, and able to get help, they will get help. Whether an officer drives them there, they get an Uber there, we arrange transportation there to start their 7-day detox. So currently, that's what our program covers, is a 7-day detox. This is the facility. John, you have how many facilities as far as
So
Mount
we have
Sinai go?
5.
Five total?
Several in Connecticut and a couple in New York.
This is the New Canaan facility. It's very nice. So the funding for the program basically is a 7-day detox. John's been very generous in extending programs, sponsoring people himself. If we do encounter somebody that really wants to get help, it has had great success. John's been keeping us updated with the successes or failures of people that enter the program as we go. And here's just some of the outcomes if you want to talk to it.
Yeah, this is the exciting stuff, guys. So far, we've had 4 clients from Southington admit here to Mountainside Treatment Center. And the first one that came in, she's now 94 days sober, and this was as of last week. So we could add a couple days to that. But I think that the main takeaway here is 3 out of the 4 clients are still sober. We were able to bring them in for a 7-day detox under medical supervision. And then they work with an aftercare team that we have at Mountainside that helps provide them what that next step's going to look like. We were able to secure 2 sober living scholarships for them. And the 2 folks are still in the sober living, and one is an IOP. Also, I think one of the takeaways here too is they've all completed the detox routinely. None of them got in and was like, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this. They've stayed and they've completed routinely, which is great. We're also providing 60 days of free recovery coaching to these clients as well. So when they leave, we can work a plan with them, their family, to hold them accountable, ensure they're following those next steps and making the next right decision. And then just some demographic information here. Our average age is about 43. Majority's been male so far. And, with only 4, we don't have a ton of data to go off of. We actually had somebody come in today. We brought her in, sent down to Uber Health. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Uber Health, but, they have CPR and Narcan kits and so on and so forth. And we got her in. And it's really been a seamless experience for us. The officers have been fantastic. They'll meet with the client, sometimes on the side of the road. They'll call us right then and there. We'll do a brief phone screening and approve them to bring them in. We've also, to show a commitment to Captain Armack and Megan and the town of Southington, we've also been able to help provide scholarships for residential treatment for these clients as well, which I think is crucially important. We don't always get clients that come in that say, I want this really bad. I'm here, I'm doing this, and motivated. So if they're motivated, we're going to invest back into them as well. And we were able to provide one client with 2 weeks of residential treatment. Again, I talked about the sober living for aftercare. One of the clients we went out and purchased 4 sets of clothing for. And then, of course, all the scholarships and stuff. So, we look at this as a partnership, not just as you guys trying to, clean up the streets, so to speak. So we want to be able to provide and give back and help the effort that you guys have down here in Southington. And so far, I think it's been really great. So just want to thank everybody for their support.
Any questions?
I have Mr. Chair, I have a
Please.
question. You showed the locations before. What's the closest one to Southington? I saw New Canaan, but
New Canaan's the closest.
it is.
Or
Is it-
Canaan?
It's Canaan.
Canaan. Okay.
And, if I can just speak to that quickly, too.
Yeah, if
it's
you
an
don't
hour-
mind the microphone, we don't want to miss a word.
It's an hour away. So I think that's just far enough to pull them out of like the familiar places, people and things that are down here that are causing them to drink, drug, or whatever it may be, and provide them with a quiet place away from all that, distraction-free, to work on themselves.
Okay, thanks. Thank you,
Something
Mr.
nice
Chair.
about this too is the reason why my mind immediately went to private is because I've been a police officer for a little while now, and it's always, I'm waiting for a bed, I'm waiting for a bed, I'm waiting for a bed. It used to be terrible when I'd encounter someone, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to get better, I'm sick of this stuff, and it's like, I'm waiting for a bed, I'm waiting for, and it always, where if John, the bed's always available at John's facility. If there's not one available in Canaan, he'll find one in New York, or he'll find one somewhere else within his facility. So that's what's really great about it.
Excellent.
Val?
Thank you. Just another question I was thinking of, do you partner with any other towns?
We haven't yet. Captain Armac reached out to me and said, well, this is, certainly something new. We'd be happy to help and support. And I think this is proof of concept, so far with the clients that we've had in. So if it makes sense and, they're open to it, we'd love to do that.
Right.
I don't know what other towns are doing with opioid settlement funding. I think they're kind of looking towards us
Yes.
for an answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as far as police departments, I've talked to a couple different deputy chiefs, and I don't think any of them really realize that the funding is there or what it's about.
Wow.
So I'd be more than happy to, like he said, proof of concept. We're kind of testing this out, seeing logistics if it would work. So far, there really hasn't been any hiccups at all. It's been really pretty smooth,
Right.
thanks to John in making it smooth.
Right.
So
It just would be great for the other towns, too, that,
So what's neat is Southington is always revolutionary in so many ways, and we are that. Other towns are looking to us now to see how we're spending our opioid funds. I sit on the statewide committee for it's called OSAC, the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee, and people don't know what to do with their
Right.
funds, so they're looking to us to maybe start a program like this, and other towns are now using their money too to also purchase C3 from us.
that's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
If I could just say one more thing. If anybody listening ever needs naloxone, they can reach out to the coalition at any time, southingtonsteps@gmail.com, and we have a constant supply.
Chris?
Just a comment, and Megan, just to capitalize on what you said. Yes, Southington is revolutionary, but it's really the STEPS program that we have in town, and thanks to your leadership with that, because like you said, there's so many different components of STEPS that you oversee that really other towns look for the example set in Southington. So thank you for that. I want to thank both of you, you and Captain Armac too, for trying to be proactive to look for a solution to help these people too, because it is frustrating, and I think it's a fantastic use of funds to try to help people get better, because otherwise they just end up being repeat offenders, and you end up spending probably more in the long run than trying to get people help, and you're doing a good job. And John, I want to thank you, because as Captain Armac mentioned, no other people even responded, so thank you for trying to be a partner with Southington. We appreciate it.
Considering us.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Jack?
Thank you. So just to kind of echo off what Chris said, Southington's always, because of our community, we're blessed with all the hard work that everybody puts in and going over and beyond. I love this idea. I think it's great. Just like anything, the bandwagon approach, I think, will happen where other towns will, which then I think, we got to be maybe more proactive. I don't know how many beds your facility has, but maybe the 3 or 4 others that didn't reach out, maybe we kind of, show them, and you guys be a steward saying, hey, this works, because at the same time, you guys don't have infrastructure to take on another 50 towns, let's say. So I think this is awesome, but, my only concern is it will be so awesome that other towns bandwagon, then it may get back to the whole thing, like, how do we, find them beds at places to use these funds properly. So I think just continuing the conversation in the community and other treatment centers, I think is important.
We partner with, other best-in-class treatment centers in Connecticut and the surrounding areas. So, if we get to a point where
John,
this is really
just step up to the microphone.
Excuse me. We partner with a lot of different best-in-class treatment centers in Connecticut and the surrounding areas. And, if this is something that takes off statewide, we can certainly find a solution that's going to be able to benefit and accommodate the need.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Anybody else? I just had 2 quick questions. You had mentioned that there were so far 4 people. Those are 4 people from Southington. How many do you have that come through on an annual basis, say, at your place?
On an annual basis, we treat about 1,600 clients a year.
Wow, that's
And,
wonderful.
With Mountainside, we're not just like a hospital setting. We do offer medical detox, but there's also residential, various outpatient levels of care, extended care, so long-term care. So it's a lot of different options to be able to meet the clients and families where they're at to, ensure that they're getting the best care that they need at that time.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And then, I don't know if it's the town manager or Megan or the captain, what's Southington's share? What are we getting for the opioid settlement right now that we're able to use for this type of funding?
So the last time we looked at the account, I think we had something about $160,000 in the account. There's no rhyme or reason when the actual deposits come in. they show up, and they're from places like Walgreens and CVS, and they come in sporadic amounts. So we're just always checking that, looking to see what's come in and how we can use it. We've also bought fentanyl wipes for the police officers to make sure that they're safe when they're going to an overdose scene, and we've been able to use it for C3 as well.
And have we received a quotation for how much, did you say it's a 2-week program?
So Captain Armack and I agreed to, we want to be able to help the most amount of people with the least amount of funds. We want to be able to utilize the funds, but we don't want it to go into 1 or 2 people. So we've opted on a 7-day detox. This will get them medically detoxed and in a safe place that they can start to work on the recovery. So we combine that with the scholarship for the recovery coaching that we work with them on. So it really gets them, 2.5 months of treatment or so,
great.
and, so far so good.
Well, thanks for all that all 3 of you doing, and steps, of course. Megan, thank you. Anything else?
Great job, thank you.
Captain, anything else on your side? Nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, that was item 2. Item 3, presentation, Junior Miss Southington Scholarship Organization. I don't think we have our guest here, so we're going to move on to item 4, which is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion passes unanimously, 9-0. Item 5, councilperson communications. Floor is open. Val?
Just a couple. So the Southington girls softball team, Mike was asking before the meeting started. So they are in the state semifinals tomorrow, playing Cheshire, which is a rematch of last year's state semifinal, and Cheshire won last year. So it's down at West Haven at 4 o'clock. So just want to
Payback.
wish them, this would be nice. So just
girls.
wish them luck.
That's
for
wonderful.
this
Good luck
year.
to the girls softball team.
And just on a personal note, this morning I had to, it wasn't a major emergency, but I needed to call the fire department. And I think, Mike, you had talked about that once, about maybe having the fire department at your house. I just want to give a shout out. I left a message for Chief Heath, and when you need them and things get a little hairy, it's they're professional. They were helpful. I know Derek, Dion, and some of the other guys were great, and it's
Everything worked
good.
out?
Yeah, just the smoke detectors were going on. I was outside. Smoke detectors are going off and not stopping, and I'm kind of running around the house seeing if anything's hot or or smoke, and then I just called dispatch, and they said I took the dogs outside and myself, and they said we'll get them there, because you never know, there could be a fire in the wall.
My doorbell wire fried. And I
Oh,
kept
wow.
smelling something burning and couldn't find it. We're all over the
Smelled
house,
something.
and it was the doorbell hanging on the wall.
Wow.
And the wire fried. I was scared, and I called, and they came in. They found it was Chief Heath, and he wasn't the chief yet, but he was the one that found it. He goes, "There it is." He
And they
pulled
find
off,
it
and-
right. I mean, they
Yeah.
they have the infrared tool. I
Yeah.
mean, they find everything right away. They knew it started down from the detector downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
It just looked like it might be a little defective. They're all hardwired.
Yeah.
So
Great reminder. Change your batteries
just
and your
a-
smoke detectors
yes,
too.
yeah.
So-
So I just a shout out, because it's public safety is just so important, and you don't realize it until you are using it. So
Thanks, Val.
Yeah.
Glad you and your family are okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the shout out.
Mr. Chair, I have one item.
Please, Mike.
We have an amazing opportunity next Wednesday, the 18th. The Southington Chamber of Commerce is teaming up with our ECDev division, and there's a breakfast there's a guest speaker, Dante Bartolomeo. She's the commissioner from the Connecticut Department of Labor. It's next Wednesday at the Manor Inn from 8 to 9:30. This is a free event for businesses and/or their employees. If they want to send their representative to go. But they do have to get tickets in advance, so the restaurant knows how many. It's a breakfast. The legislature just closed their session, so there are lots of new laws for businesses, and the guest speaker is going to be discussing a lot of those changes coming forth for the next couple of years. So, the chamber puts on events like this all the time, so the town is very happy to support them and team up with them for this great event for next Wednesday, 8 to 9:30. If you
Wonderful.
can go.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks to the chamber. Anybody else? Chris?
Yes, I had mentioned at the last meeting for our second annual Intro to Farm Camp that's put on by Leaf. I'm pleased to say the slots are all filled. There's only 2 remaining slots, so if people are interested, this is for children ages 8 to 11, and it runs from July 28th to August 1st, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's right at Leaf in town, and you can register on southingtonrec.com. And once again, last 2 spots remaining, so if you're interested for your children, please sign up for that. Just want to wish this Thursday is graduation, so I'd like to wish the best to our graduating seniors this year. Some of us are a little bit more familiar. So just all the best to them, and we wish them the best as they move on from Southington High School. Lastly, and I'm glad Captain Armack is still here, I'd just like to thank the partnership between Steps and the Police Department again. On May 22nd, there was an unannounced tobacco and e-cigarette compliance inspection check. Unfortunately, the last time it was done, not the May 22nd, but the time before, there were multiple businesses that were not compliant. So I'm pleased that we've improved. There's only one business that was not compliant this time. That was Queen Smoke and Convenience at 613 Queen Street. Unfortunately, they did not pass their compliance check, and all the other businesses did. And again, I just want to thank the Southington Police Department and Steps for being proactive to make sure that things aren't getting in the hands of our youth. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else? Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Thursday, May 29th, I attended the Early Childhood Collaborative of Southington. They held their 2025 State of Early Childhood presentation. And you go to their website and you could take a look at that, the southingtonearlychildhood.org. Joanne Kelleher did a phenomenal job. It was a great turnout. A lot of members from our community were there, which was great. An interesting take on that was, there's going to be a change, where, part of the whole funding process through the state and all the grants and all that, there's going to be a local governance partner. I don't know if Joanne reached out to the town manager yet, but I know that, there needs to be some involvement from the town. So it may be a good opportunity maybe to have Joanne come and give that presentation that we saw, at their event, just because, it's our youth, it's our future, and there's a lot of changing things going on. Like my son is in the Jump Start program at the Y, and this year the dates of kindergarten changed. So there was a lot of kids that kind of got held back because of the date changes with their birthdays, which now is showing a bigger enrollment with the kindergarten classes. So there's a lot of moving parts kind of going on. So it was very informational. There's no way that I could recap everything that they said because there's a ton of knowledge there. But you could go to their website, see the presentation there. But I think it may be a good opportunity to maybe get Joanne Kelleher here so the council could see it, and then it could be televised as well, in our community.
Okay.
And then another thing, so to follow up on the selective enforcement that I brought up at the last council meeting, Chairman Hammersley did reach out from P&Z. I responded that I could not make that meeting. I did watch the meeting, and it seems the P&Z does not feel that it's something in their wheelhouse or an issue. So I think the wording that he used was it was going to be deposed or disposed of, and that was it. But I've read the town charter, and P&Z does not have oversight of town staff. It actually comes through the town manager, which is the town council. So I will be meeting more with the town manager to kind of go over the things that, you know, I have concerns with and my findings. And him and his staff have been great to work with, getting me the information so that we could just make sure that things are all in the up. So thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Jim?
Last Thursday, around the state, local police departments participated in the 2025 Summer Games Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics. I actually attended the Watertown parade, but I did see that we had a pretty big contingency here in Southington, and so special thanks to everyone that participated in that. I was able to go to the games on Saturday and Sunday, and it's amazing how many people volunteer their time to make that a success. So again, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 6, report of special committees. Item A, ordinance. Bill?
Sure. So the first one was the police traffic ordinance. Just to give it a little context. So my understanding is that there was already an existing set of rules in place to handle this. Essentially, they were under the police commission. And we felt that it was a good time at some point to kind of memorialize or codify these into an actual ordinance. So what you have in front of us in our packet is, you know, essentially that. Captain Armack, who's also here, is on our committee. He worked closely with us. We looked at some neighboring towns of similar sizes for some basic language. We modified it. It was unanimous at committee level. And if Val or Tony have anything they want to say about it before we get into the specifics, go ahead.
Val?
No, just to echo that, to thank Captain Armack for his feedback. And I think this kind of came out of the police commission, right? They had put it forth that they wanted to have. I think it's basically just adding a lot of substance to what we had currently.
Good. All set, Tony?
No, it was discussed quite extensively, and it was a unanimous vote to pass it on. So.
Excellent. Captain, is there anything that you wanted to add? Please come on up. Busy night for you tonight.
Nothing I wanted to add. Just when you review it, we really tried to keep safety in mind. There were some instances brought forward by the police commission where they felt as though a certain situation wasn't safe. This allows the officers on scene to say, you need this many cones, you need this many signs. We're just trying to keep everybody safe out there. That was kind of when you read it, that's the crux behind what
Excellent. Chris?
Can I ask a question, Captain Armack,
Sure.
maybe while you're here? Item H, which relates to the fees. So it says the fee for use of a Southington police vehicle as established by resolution of the town council is $25 per hour, may be amended by council resolution. That seems low to me. Does that even cover?
So I think it's 50. Does it say 25?
It says
for a vehicle?
25.
Okay,
So
it's,
is that in there?
it's currently 50.
All right.
So
So
it
let's
is
take
low.
that. So let's take that as an action, then the town
Yeah.
manager should validate with that, with the captain. Just, and then, let's be sure that that's accurately captured. Thanks,
Yeah,
Chris, for
I was just
capturing.
going through that billing today. It is 50.
It's 50.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
So we'll just change our language before
Okay.
we, okay, great, thank
So
you.
for $50, I can take a cop car anytime?
Per hour.
Yeah, try it, Mike. All you gotta do is try it.
Shows how to work
No
the
permission
sirens.
needed.
I just doubled your cost though, Mike.
I know, it
That's
was 25 10 minutes ago. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? My recommendation is, we're going to schedule, later in the, under old business, we're going to schedule this for a public hearing. I think it's June 23rd. Is that our next meeting? We'll look for a motion to add this June 23rd with the amendment that Chris mentioned, that it's $50 in that section, to schedule the public hearing. And let's take the time between now and then to digest this some more, and we'll hear from the public. This will be posted on our town's website after we make the vote tonight. And if it does get put up for the public hearing, it'll be available in the next day or so. And then, of course, the meeting following that, we can talk about, any changes we want to make, as long as they're not too substantive. I think we can make them on the fly like we've done in the past and look to adopt something. Okay, Bill? Blight.
Sure. So again, a little context of the blight ordinance. When we looked for a starting place, we looked at other towns. First, we have a blight ordinance, but what we wanted to do was kind of add some definitions to it, make it more easily enforceable in court in the event we have to. And, really it relies on having sound leadership and that leader having discretion how they're going to do it. You look to some towns, some that are larger than us, and they take kind of, I'll call it like a city approach, where, they're measuring how high your grass is and sending you a $100 fine. We didn't want that. We kind of wanted to give our zoning control or zoning enforcement officer discretion, and we wanted to be able to define it. The last thing we wanted to have is someone say, well, that's not blight, because in the list and itemization of it, it's not found there. So we have an extensive list of what blight is, which helps. And then really, probably the trickiest part, and Val and I went kind of back and forth, and this is how do you give notice to somebody? Because, what if it's a rental property and they live out of state? What if it's someone in there who hasn't checked their mail in, a month and it's piling up? We really wanted to make sure that if a resident is in violation of something in the blight ordinance, that they're getting the notice they need, and that the person who's in charge of enforcing it is enforcing it with some common sense. That was kind of the spirit of what this ordinance was. This is, again, another one where we had multiple meetings on it. We took from other towns what we thought was the best part. It was unanimous at committee level, and again, I'll defer to Val and Tony if they want to add anything to it.
Val?
Yeah, just that we had, was it Matt that?
Yeah.
Right. From town staff was at one of our meetings, and it was very helpful because we could talk with him about, how he would approach things and kind of that common sense that Bill's talking about. So I thought that was very helpful for the committee.
Tony, all set?
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously, it's a tricky topic. You want to be fair to residents who may live adjacent to, a real serious issue, but on the other hand, not going too far. And I think in the proposal, from what I saw, or at least what I read, and I'll digest it a little bit more, it looks like there's also a proposal for some civilian oversight of some component of that as well. So if everybody can just read through the ordinance, and again, we'll schedule this one as well on June 23rd for some public input, and we encourage the public to come out and give some feedback on this as well as the police traffic ordinance before this. Chris?
My question actually relates to, I think, what you're talking about. So in section 203-7, subsection D, it talks about a hearing officer, and it specifically references the Connecticut general statute. So is that, we don't have that currently, and I was thinking Matt would be that person, our zoning enforcement officer. So this is obviously, to your point, Paul, a civilian oversight, I guess.
It's a different person.
Right, it's a different person, because it says specifically cannot be a town employee either in here.
Right.
So is that something that we want to adopt? Because I guess we don't have to adopt the Connecticut general statute model for that.
Yeah, Chris,
Bill's
so we kind of wanted to bring this to the council to say, hey, maybe you want to do this. How I envision it would be, we have our organizational meeting after the election. You'd almost have to find somebody to appoint after the election, an organizational meeting who would oversee the complaints. We didn't want to incur costs by hiring a new person, right? So that's kind of some of the ways that other towns have done it, but there's nothing that the town manager and the enforcement officer couldn't do either. So that's definitely,
And I'm fine either way. If we do that, I'd almost rather a committee, so it's not one individual making decisions. So maybe it's appoint 3 people, so there's an odd number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just something so it's not one person
Good suggestion, yeah.
making that decision. And again, if we have to reference the Connecticut general statute to see if we can make that change, I think that might be a good solution.
So why don't we have the town attorney look into that for us, maybe for the next meeting? That component of the regulation, look at the statute, see if it's got flexibility, if it mandates one person, or if we have some, maybe for the purposes of scheduling the public hearing. What's the section, Chris?
It's section
Since you just looked it up.
203-7,
Yep.
subsection D.
Okay, so maybe what we do is reference 203.7, and we, for the purposes of the public hearing, the motion is that, this is the way it's proposed today, but that, it could change after the public hearing. If it's 3 people versus 1 person, and then, we'll be a little bit flexible with that.
Okay.
And, let's hear the public's input as well.
Okay, I was just
Tony.
curious, Chris, as to why you would think 3 would be better than 1.
Well, because if it's, say, it's our zoning enforcement officer, I think he's got experience dealing with that, so he's handling cases
Right.
often.
Right.
One person, though, a lay person that doesn't have experience with that, hearing something, I don't know, it's a lot of pressure to put on one person to make a decision versus, and again, I don't care if we go with the zoning enforcement officer, so again, there's some professional knowledge there, so they're not just arbitrarily making decisions, or, again, if it's not, I think it's better not having one person that doesn't have any experience
Right,
making
but
those decisions.
If I can, I think we talked about this, we would not appoint, the council would not appoint someone who doesn't have experience. We would appoint someone who, if they're going to accept the appointment for 2 years, it's going to be someone who has experience with this.
Land
Maybe a
use,
retired-
building or something, or,
Right,
yeah.
it can't be the zoning officer, it has to be a separate person. And I'll just say it now, I think having to set up a committee of 3, now you're setting up another committee, could get very cumbersome. I think if you have someone who has experience with this, they can be a zoning officer, and it'll be on an as-needed.
Yeah, right, that's.
They might not have, for 2 years, they might not have anything.
Right.
They might not.
Yeah.
That's just thinking, based on our conversations at
Yeah,
committee.
no, it's an important one because, we can get one person, then we'd have to get 3. It's
Yeah.
just a bit
Be
more
hard to get
difficult,
3,
so,
I think.
Yeah, anyway, it's a discussion point. It's
Yeah.
a good one. Yeah.
So can we leave that, Val and Tony, for the
Yeah.
purposes of the
Yeah.
public hearing and for when we make a motion, because we do have to present the ordinance, can we say that the spirit of this is that will be investigated and TBD,
Right,
based on the public input and based
Right,
on council's?
right. It may be that we end up going with a committee. I
Yeah.
just thinking, I just don't know that we want to do that, but it may come out that way.
As a reminder, though, we need to schedule the public hearing for the ordinance that's going to be, it has to be close.
Right.
So I think if we as a council say that that part will be open and decided following the public hearing, then I think that that's fair to send to the public hearing as such,
Well, and if our town attorney
and based on the
is-
town attorney.
Right, if our town attorney will, if Lou's going to check the statute might give some guidance
Exactly.
on this.
Okay, cool. Jack,
Thank you.
is that good, Chris?
Yeah,
Good for now? Okay,
absolutely.
thanks, Jack.
So I have to side with Chris on this, just for this fact that, the same thing happens with the building department. If somebody challenges the building official, there's a committee that we establish with individuals that have to have certain criterias of background. So I'm going to guess, I hope the state got this right, and I'm hoping that state statute kind of mirrors what they already did with that aspect, because again, the state has that with the building department, that if somebody does not agree with the building official, they go in front of that board, which I think there's only been one hearing. Is that correct, Sense? So it's not like it's an everyday thing that even that board meets. So I'd be in favor of having more of a group of individuals to give different perspectives and, have democracy kind of play out versus a one rule individual.
Good discussion. Okay. Anybody else? Awesome. Good stuff, you guys. Thanks so much for the dialogue. I'm looking forward to the public hearing on the 23rd for both of those. And Captain, thank you so much for sticking around and answering our questions. We appreciate it. Okay, economic strike. Mr. Del Santo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had our meeting on May 29th, and we had some good news, bad news. The bad news was that Southington did not get the STEEP grant. So we found that out at the ACTEV meeting. So discussion was had. I know we had a couple of projects hoping to line up after receiving the STEEP grant. So discussions are ongoing with regards to how we were able to fund some areas in town where that money hopefully could have gone. So more to follow on that. Two other things, which I think is very good news, is that a local company contacted Lou and was curious about getting a tax abatement. It's a local company, Juniper Lighting, here in Southington at 157 Water Street, and they're trying to acquire more space. They've outgrown their current space, and they want to invest a couple of $1 million, $2.5 million actually, and add another 25 to 30 jobs. So in our discussions, we came up with a couple of recommendations, which we unanimously sent back to the town council. The first one is to create and approve a 40% tax abatement for real and personal property for manufacturers outside of the enterprise zone. The committee's motion had the minimum improvement threshold of $150,000 to qualify, and the abatement should become effective, if approved, on July 1st, 2025, and sunset 2 years later on June 30th, 2027. That was the first one. These two matters are on for action later in tonight's meeting. The second recommendation was for the town council to approve the request of Juniper Lighting to receive a 40% tax abatement under the manufacturers outside the enterprise zone for real and personal property for the property located at 115 Water Street, which is adjacent to their current operation on Water Street. Juniper, as I said earlier, they want to acquire the building to expand its lighting business and eventually connect the two properties. He's looking to invest over $2.5 million with the redevelopment of the property and double his sales. At the company increases existing staff to 35 to add an additional 25 or 30. So I think it's a great opportunity for a local business that I'm very happy to say a couple of years ago that we poached from New York City. These guys were making lights in New York City, and now they're here in Southington, and they're making their own designs, and it's a very up-and-coming company. So their owner and one of their representatives came to the meeting and gave us the rundown of what they're doing and what they're trying to. They're just out of space, which is good news for them. So they're busy. So I'm not sure if I missed anything. Chris, Tony, Jack, I know you guys were there.
Just one thing, they mentioned they also wanted to, in the space, build a technical design center.
Yeah.
Which is, in order to push their future products.
And they also offered a tour, if anyone would like to go. We're going to
it's a
probably set
wonderful
something
building,
up. And one other thing is that area floods. It's right behind the Ideal Fortune spot, so they've put a lot of money into already trying to mitigate the flooding. And so if this happens, they'll have to do it further because they got a lot of material to protect. So it's an investment in Southington. I know a lot of people kind of snub their nose at tax abatements, but I think it's a wonderful tool in our toolbox to keep important companies like this in Southington. And after a few years, when the tax abatement runs out, they'll be paying full tax, hopefully at twice the inventory of what they're selling today and twice the staff members that shop in town, eat in town, buy gas, play, have fun, all that good stuff. Not sure if there are any questions. Like I said, these two action items are on for later tonight.
Just, Val, please.
Just to confirm, it's
Yes.
40% each year,
Yes,
right?
40% for 5 years.
And
And it's 40% of only the new
the new.
real
real
and personal that's
personal
added as of
above.
the date of this.
And above the greater than 150,000.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
So it's not on existing stuff.
Right, no.
Right.
I just
And it's
wanted to
not for just property. This is for any property, any commercial property outside of the enterprise zone.
Okay.
Right, and we did the threshold a little higher because someone on the committee brought up a pretty good point. We kind of don't want to do this for a van or for, which is important, but we want more substantial.
Right.
We want folks adding on, we want folks adding more employees, we want folks to see the big picture.
Right, rather than start it a little bit higher and, have a
Correct.
decrease, right?
Right. And it was interesting because we didn't know how much they were putting in, and we actually asked the applicant, would it be more than 150,000? He's like, then he said
Little bit.
2.5 million, so much more.
Yeah. And when it says that they can only be awarded one program, it's just during this time
Correct.
period, right? So after June 30th of 2027, if another program comes up.
Right. And there may be something else in 27. I'll probably be on my porch smoking a cigar, so the next ACDev person can talk about that then.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Jack?
No, just to kind of mention that, I think this is a great program to offer. I think it helps stimulate, local businesses to grow. As a small business owner, I understand that these abatements really help with finances as far as, you know, when you start showing your profit and loss or your projections with banks and trying to get loans. My only ask would be, you know, the town try to promote this, you know, to encourage, you know, these businesses to plant the seeds so that we will see the real estate, you know, come back, but also create the jobs in our community and such. So it's great that we do this, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, having certain things in town. If you don't maintain it or promote it, nobody knows about it. So that would be my recommendation, is just try to promote it as best as possible, get it out there so that businesses understand what we have to offer. And it also, I think, would, you know, create more buy-in for Southington, that Southington is creating these programs to attract businesses into Southington. So I think advertising it locally is great, but also, you know, word of mouth does travel, and it may be, okay, somebody's picking us between us and Plainville. This gives us a one-up. So I think it's important to just talk about it more.
Anybody else? I have one, really just a comment. And I just wonder if and maybe some of you who are business owners, you know, may have some perspective on this. I just wonder whether a flat 40% over 5 years is the right model, or if some sort of a tiered model, because I think about, I've always heard from people in the business community that stability is good, but on the other hand, stability meaning, you know, the tax rate. But I've also heard, you know, I also think about the way that some other programs are run, and I just wonder if a 40% stop after 5 years of getting a 40% is a significant lift for a small business owner to all of a sudden start paying 40% more the next year. There's a lot of planning that's involved in that. That can be a shock to a business. And so I just wonder whether it's, you know, like, should we look at something more like a 50 or 60% the first year, then a 50% and a 40 and a 30 and a 20, where, you know, the business feels an ease in over those 5 years, but they get a little bit better of a benefit up front. So I don't know. I'm not.
Can I make a comment on that, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, sure.
Because there are different models that we've used in the past for new development, new construction in the enterprise zone. We've done 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, and then it sunsets after that. So there are, you know, a couple of different ways to skin a cat, you know. So this is what Lou decided on doing, seeing that this was outside of the enterprise zone, and it's a flat 40% each year. So I guess maybe Lou can further answer that question if at a different meeting. You can have him come in, or we can question him. This is what he asked for.
Okay. Jack.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Mr. Chair. Businesses usually try to plan their finances, but if we average it out of 40%, but give more in the beginning, I think it also creates more relief for the business at front and allows them to kind of get more traction, invest more, get the workforce going, you know, faster, you know. So I would not be opposed of structuring it so that it averages as 40, but kind of helps more in the beginning, because then it's kind of more incentivizing of doing it.
Okay. And I look to you, Mike. I mean, I don't want to, if this, is 2 weeks going to be critical on this? Do we want to go back and ask one more time, or do we want to do this?
The only thing I can say to that is that we couldn't get together for a strike meeting, and the company was kind of scrambling. So I don't, if it's this council's purview if they want to table it, but I know they are working on getting loans and all that good stuff in the bank.
I mean, 2 weeks, I just can't believe 2 weeks is, I mean, 2 weeks could be significantly beneficial to them for the next 2 years. So I would hate to do something now and then have them go, oh, man, we could have gotten but then, you know, the town benefits by a drop off as well. Everybody benefits by it.
Well, the solid answer, I don't know why Lou chose to do 40.
I don't either.
Can I make one comment?
Please, go ahead.
So I would think that, you know, I think the scheduled 40% protects, and this is no way, shape, or form connected with a company seeking the application, but it protects against abuse, right? Because if you know that you can get a 90% reduction, you might like play a move ahead of time and say, oh, I can get 90% right out of the gate, and then you're going to defer anything down the road, either to a new buyer if you're trying to sell it or some sort of restructuring, versus the 5-year transparent. This is just is what it is for 5 years.
Yep,
I don't
fair.
know. It's just my thought.
Good thoughts, yeah. Val?
I just, those, Bill, I'm just thinking, would we start that high, though? You know what I mean? I'd be interested to know what Lou, because I feel like in the past, we've done the
breakdown.
breakdown. I'm not that I'm
150.
opposed to the 40.
I think he did it
I'm
every
not
two,
opposed to it either.
180,
Either way.
60, 40.
Yeah, I mean, if we started, to Bill's point, don't start obviously at 90, maybe 60, I mean, it's a good point that 40% is a big chunk for a business to,
Could be 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, I mean,
just to ease into that, that when that 6-year comes and now you're paying. Especially if it's a good chunk of money.
okay. Jack?
To kind of throw a little bit more into the fire, I guess, it may be worth even looking at, thresholds of dollars. We set a minimum. Do we want to get more creative and say, hey, you spend more, you get a little bit more? It may be an incentive of somebody going, okay, instead of doing 2.5, I'm going to do the 3 because of this. I don't know what Lou's take would be on that, but if we're going to start getting creative, I would love to look at the whole picture of, maybe stimulating somebody to spend $10 million or so, in our community, I think, would help our grand list.
So maybe for the town manager, how do you feel? Would you be willing to talk to Lou about this over the next couple of weeks? And
I'm not sure I have a choice, Mr. Chairman, but I will absolutely speak with Lou. He is still recovering from a medical hip replacement, but he should be back up and running within a few weeks, so I will invite him at the next meeting. I'll ask him to watch this meeting so he'll clearly have an idea of what wants to be discussed.
And if there is and when you're speaking to Lou, if there is urgency, maybe the chair could call a special meeting to be able to, make sure that we aren't affecting this business that is making this commitment in our community.
I do know there was urgency when I asked to schedule it in July. They pushed back, said the closing was coming up very soon, and they were going for financing, and part of this program is going to be part of their application. So
Yeah, the banks
if
love this.
Yeah, if there's if there is a issue with 2 weeks, I will speak with the chairman and try to accommodate all parties.
sounds good. How's the council feel about, what do you want to do with this? Well, we're gonna have
for action.
it on for action later, right? Okay. All right. So we got the do you want to step out while we're having the rest of the meeting? I mean, we have some time between now and, it's up to you. If you're concerned about timing with loans and things, I don't want to.
I don't, the odds of us getting a hold of the applicant and then Lou and coming with me presenting a good story for the council right now
Okay.
is not going to happen.
I think the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Toothpaste is out of the tube. Tough to get it back in there. All right, let's move on to item C, America 250. Tony.
Okay, yeah, that's me. America 250, Connecticut Commission, to give it its full title, is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, founding of the country. Connecticut set up a loose structure to see how Connecticut would celebrate the year. In fact, they've been concentrating on it for the last year or so. Rather than a single commemorative event, what they want is, or what they encourage, is communities throughout Connecticut to organize their own celebrations, to celebrate in their own way that's unique, distinctive for the community itself, which is, I think, is a pretty good idea. Councillor Morelli and myself were attending a couple of calls that they set up. They have monthly calls now, where they'll have a sort of umbrella structure, and they'll kind of highlight what people are doing, and they have a forum in which people can talk about what they're doing and how they're doing it and why. So it's interesting. We discussed briefly about how we can Southington can fit into such an effort in 2026. We've already put aside $25,000 in the budget for next year. Sorry, the year starting in July. So there is money available for this. And important things, I think, to consider is that the celebration should include all aspects of our community, from education to fun, and that they should take place across the whole year. Now, there will be stuff going on anyway, because obviously, the schools, etc., the library, that will be going on automatically. But here's some ideas on how Southington can celebrate as just to set the thing off. We have a mechanism in place already for a town-wide event, which is the Apple Harvest Festival Committee. I think we can take advantage of this, not by adding workload to them, but by grafting a few folks onto it to take care of any organisation that will be needed. Second thing, it'll be important to understand and incorporate the historical aspects for Southington. For example, celebration of our history, understanding of how Southington has celebrated such anniversaries in the past would be interesting to know. Three, we should endeavour to encourage and link events in all parts of the town. By that I mean schools, library, Barnes Museum, Veterans, American Legion, soccer, Calendar House, YMCA, Chamber, etc., etc. Last high-level point, although we're talking about events, stuff throughout the year, July 4th is on a weekend in 2026, and I think it'd be great to have a local celebration that weekend in the Town Green Town Centre area. It should be different from Apple Harvest. I don't believe we should have a parade, as the Apple Harvest has that covered. I don't believe we should seek to compete with the Italian Festival, Memorial Day. It should be unique to what we're celebrating, i.e. something that is infused with patriotism. But we have space for celebratory party, whatever form that takes, dining, music, fireworks, etc. We could close off Centre Street. We could obviously utilize our new town parking lot. But, we have the space, we have the capability, we essentially have the money. I would suggest, obviously, we'd need people to organize this, as I mentioned before, as a sort of maybe an adjunct to the Apple Harvest Committee. And we need to think about types of people on it. For a start, I think it's important to get people like from, obviously, the schools, the Barnes Museum with Christina Volpe, obviously the town historian with Phil Wooding, and some folks who want to get involved as necessary. So I think we should chat about suggestions for that at our next meeting. But that's where we are right now. I don't know, Jim, if you have anything to add, or...
You covered it quite well.
Okay.
We know Rogers Orchard is just another work day. 250 years ago, they were already open for like 8 years. They're like, what's going on?
Where you been?
Yeah,
We've been
Philadelphia? What?
No, but, there are lots of great things I think that we can do. And so we want to put together some additional people.
That's my
And,
suggestion. I'm not saying it's,
Yeah.
It's,
And we have some functions and people that we may have in mind. Maybe what we could do to the town manager and the council, maybe we could mull over what Tony just told us, and by next meeting, we could put an ad hoc subcommittee that, what's the term you use? Grafts onto? It grafts
yes,
onto the...
Apple Harvest.
Okay, so...
Grafted onto it. I thought that was kind of nice.
Will I be able to drive the golf cart if I were on a committee?
Of course you can.
Chris? I know you whip around that golf cart for the Apple Harvest.
And you'll be able to use it all year.
Jack.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So I think this is awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think 25,000 will go far. So we're going to have to put our hats on, get creative. I would love to see, outreach to businesses in our community. I think they would love to be a part of this, but it's also a funding aspect, so I don't know if there's any way that, we could work with an organization to help, raise those funds so that it's part of a nonprofit because obviously the town isn't part of, like the apple harvest. That's a challenge with the apple harvest, trying to get sponsors. We're not a 501c3, so trying to get people to be sponsors sometimes, especially corporate, is hard because, they can't because of their mechanism. So I know the Main Street Foundation does a lot in town. I'm not saying that they'd be the right, avenue, but I think having some of those discussions early on may be great to kind of encompass a whole team. So I'd keep that in mind as well.
Sounds great. And if you want to be part of that committee, whoever wants to be part of the committee, raise your hand.
You'd be a good
Chris.
committee member, Jack.
Sounds good.
That's what I was going to suggest. I really think you're better off having a separate committee. I mean, if you want some members that are serving on the Apple Harvest Committee to also serve on this, it's just a very different task, and it's a one-time thing, so like I said, maybe I can bring it up we have a meeting this week and see if anyone's interested in also serving, and,
Yeah,
I really think the schools, like you said, Tony, should be a huge part of it, and
Board of
you
Ed.
also mentioned Christina Volpe. I think she's huge, and again, none of those
Phil
are really
Wooding.
part of, Phil Wooding, and none of them are really part of the Apple Harvest
No,
Festival library.
that's why I say grant. And the reason I want to mention the Apple Harvest Festival is because you already have a mechanism in place, a setup to deal with pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand how to deal with it, from things like the police, from
Logistics.
all logistics.
More for logistics.
So
Vendors.
I mean, I don't mind helping with this too, but I just worry about mixing them, whereas that really is a standalone event, annual event, and like I said, I can volunteer if you need help doing some of that, but I think we may be better off because, again, you do want to tie in those other people that have nothing to do with the festival, and I think they'd be a huge part.
So it's not a graft, it's an adjacency.
Right, okay,
It's an adjacent parallel work
all
team
right,
that consults with the Apple
It's really
Harvest, a
a
couple
task
Apple
force,
Harvest members.
right?
yeah.
Good ideas. Okay, so let's try to finalize that, maybe offline, Tony. Maybe talk to Chris, talk to Alex, and let's finalize some of the names. Maybe we can reach out to some of the people on the list. I'd be happy to contact some people as well and see if we could firm it up.
That will be a problem for you for the next couple of weeks. I'll be out of the country, so
Okay.
just
No, it's canceled.
Throw it over,
Focus all your efforts.
throw it over our way, and we'll be happy to make some calls while you're out.
Jefferson and John Adams died.
Phones don't work where?
Finland.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much, Jim and Tony, Tony and Jim, for bringing this forward. This is an important thing. I mean,
it's important.
next, this year upcoming is 250-year anniversary, so we got to do something nice. I agree with Jack. 25,000 is nice to have. We have to be careful about how much we're going to spend, but maybe there's a public-private partnership here that makes some sense, and maybe some of the local businesses are willing to pitch in, but also participate, which I think would be great. Okay, thank you, guys. Item 7, Town Manager's Report and Communications.
Thank you, Mr.
Small
Chairman.
Cities Resolution, CDBG.
I've got 2 on the agenda, but I've got a lot to go over tonight. A lot of the stuff came in today and over the weekend, so please buckle up. As you know, the Small Cities Program, the Town Council voted to authorize the Southington Housing Authority to apply for a $2 million renovation grant. That grant is approved. They're going through the funding process and under Chapter 127, Charlie, Part 6 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the town of Southington is going to be the entity that gets the money. So the state of Connecticut will wire the town the money, and the town will disperse those funds under the authority of CHAFA to the Housing Authority as the work gets done. So it's a technicality, but there's a resolution for Clerk Larkin to sign, and it requires the town council to make that resolution tonight. Any questions on that?
Questions on the resolution? Nope, thank you.
Item 2 on the agenda is the Liberty Street Place parking lot. This was something that Mr. Perry brought to my attention originally. There was a lot of issues with the parking on Lower Center Street and North Liberty Street when the police department closed on-street parking on North Liberty Street. I know there's a lot of businesses there that were having some trouble. A few businesses then contacted me a few weeks after Mr. Perry did and asked why the YMCA parking lot wasn't available for use, when for many years in the past it was. The short answer was nobody was maintaining it, and people were using it, they were littering it, it was just, the YMCA got tired of cleaning up after the public's trash. So I had a long conversation with Mr. Pooler, Mark Pooler, the YMCA. He brought it to his executive board. We also brought it to the parking authority. Everybody agreed that we'd enter into a one-year agreement. That was blessed, and the parking authority signed off on it. And I'm happy to announce that as of June 1st, that parking lot is now open to the public. Just over almost 20 spots there. So the businesses are thrilled, and hopefully it helps with some congestion down there.
Sure.
Is there signage?
Signage is in the works right now. We've got a vendor, they're fabricating it. We're getting it right up.
So that was my thing as well, signage, just to make sure that we have rules even. Because if the Y is being a good neighbor, I think it's important to show our commitment that, okay, no overnight parking, no littering, stuff like that, I think would just show that, we're not going to allow that to happen again.
The town's committed to treat that, it's going to be a municipal lot. The town's committed to treat that lot with the utmost care. We treat all the municipal lots with a lot of care, but I've made it clear to the highway department that lot is to be tended to a little extra, just alleviate those concerns. It may be shut down at the end of this year for a week or two. The YMCA is planning on demoing the building on High Street. They just purchased. The corner. There's a couple different buildings there. They're doing some environmental remediation shortly, and then they're planning on demolishing it. So we did discuss that. That lot will be shut down for maybe a week or two, but they're going to give us some notice before they do so.
Okay, thank you.
And a couple more quick updates. The Pocket Park, I left in front of everybody's chair. An alternative rendering. There's also a light on the podium, which you're free to go play with. That's the proposed uplighting structure for the wall. And then if you look at the proposed drawing, if you look at the south part of it, there's two boulders there. It shows where the wall would continue to almost the walking path. The reason why it's curved a little tighter and originally why it wasn't being done is because the DOT right-of-way is that line that's going straight down, and the wall right now gets to the top of the line. So in order to possibly bring that wall out and make it look a little bit nicer, the engineer, Mr. Norris, in the engineering department is going to also bid out to pull that wall in, bring the curve in a little more, and then just see where it comes. We'll bring it back to the council for final approval, but just wanted to get any feedback if folks like the additional wall, if they wanted the wall higher up. I don't need any feedback now, but take a look at it, shoot me an email, let me know what you think about it.
How long do we have to play with the light?
You can play all night long with that light. You can check out all the lumens, the 2700. Just keep pressing the button and cycle through it. Yeah. Mr. Perry brought it up. Mrs. Joanne Kelleher, the local governance partner with ECS. I met with her and Mrs. Wardall today, who's the chairman of that board, and we discussed what is going to happen, because right now, as Mr. Perry said, there's a lot of things in the air. The ECS doesn't even know what's going to happen. They just passed all of these laws, and regulations are supposed to be promulgated by the state of Connecticut by July 1st. No one has a clue what is going to happen. I can't speak intelligently on the topic. I know Mr. Perry said it's very convoluted. The ECS doesn't know what's going on. I called Mr. Bedancy today. I said, Mr. Bedancy, I see that you're on board with this proposal. And he said, Alex, we don't even know what the proposal is going to be, so why don't we just put it on pause and wait for the regulations to get proposed? So at this point, I think we're going to hold fast, wait for the state to give us some guidance on this local governance partner, and then we'll be in a better position to really decide what the town has to do, if anything, because nobody knows. And to Mr. Perry's credit, I think the presentation, I saw part of it, it was difficult to kind of get through.
Very detailed, but overwhelming.
Yeah, with no specifics of how to implement. Just a lot of rules.
Okay, any questions on early childhood collaborative and funding? We'll wait to hear more.
And just really briefly, Mr. Chairman, the $25,000 for America 250, just a reminder that covers this fiscal year. America 250 is going to be next fiscal year, so we can put money in the budget. The $25,000 is for the planning, possibly making sure if hiring anybody we need to hire, and then if fundraising, we can also do fundraising for the events themselves. If we do need additional funding after July 1st, 2026, that can be in the next year's proposed budget. We'll cross that bridge when we get to budget season. Just let everybody know about that.
Yeah, I think part of that's going to be, are we doing anything leading up to the 4th?
Correct.
On the 4th and after the 4th, based on what the committee comes up with?
Balloons, folding chairs.
Yep.
Right.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other questions for the town manager? Hearing none. We will move on to item number 8, Town Attorney's Report, 22 Main Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am pleased to announce that the contract for purchase of 22 Main Street has been signed. It's done. While the formalities of the closing and the liens and searches and things like that are in the lawyer's hands, our town manager did reach out, almost as like a congratulatory call, and spoke with the buyer, exchanged ideas and suggestions and so on and so forth. While there's not any timing for the closing set, we are progressing along in very good shape.
Okay,
I apologize, Tony interrupted my presentation with his spilling of water everywhere, so.
That's all right, though.
Anyone have any questions?
I think maybe you interrupted the spilling of his water.
That's true. I dazzled him so much, he'd spit his water out.
I can't listen and drink water at the same time.
All right, any questions on 22 Main Street? All right. Moving on to public communications, item number 9. Anybody here who would like to speak may come on up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Grandkids all the time spilling too.
Yeah.
See you now.
These things don't.
Regina Covello, 12 Beecher Street. And actually, I was talking to, and I don't remember her name, the woman from Steps in that. It's kind of a question and some information, and Chris, you can pronounce it right. Remember last year, there was, it's not classed as a drug, is it kratom? Kratom. My concern was, I don't know if anyone saw recently, somebody put a picture of that convenience store on Queen Street in front of Motel 6. That is one of the things that's on their building. And I know that there's an issue with that. And I didn't know if you had found out whether they passed any laws on that, because it's very, very dangerous. So I know you guys had brought it up last year. That was kind of my concern. Are they being watched? You know what I'm saying? With our kids and everything. That's,
Okay, thanks.
I didn't
For the
know.
town manager, maybe you can look into that.
Yeah.
You don't need to respond, but you can, we'll have the town manager look into that.
Okay.
Thanks.
I just, don't want the kids to, to get in trouble like we know. And I wasn't sure, but thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here speaking during public communications? Anybody else? Going once, twice? Okay. No, there's nobody else here. Public communications is closed. We're going to move on to item 10, old business. Action on tax abatement recommendation for manufacturers outside the enterprise zone. Mr. Del Santo.
So, I came into the meeting pretty confident that, we sent the unanimous decision back to the council. So it's I'm certainly not going to make a motion to table it, but if someone else wants to, I entirely respect it.
So I guess the question is, does the council, how do we feel about maybe putting it up tonight, and we can always modify it at the next meeting if we feel that there's a benefit to modifying it, so that we have something on the books, and then if the town manager and Mr. Del Santo want to follow up with the economic development coordinator, or already the town manager's already said he's going to, we can always make an adaptation at the next meeting if we need to. Chris?
I just want to support Mike. I mean, obviously, I was at the meeting too. This was a recommendation of Lou, Economic Development Coordinator. It wasn't like the committee suggested this. And the applicant, which is the second motion potentially tonight, was sitting there the whole time. And, to Mike's point, has come from New York City, so he's been in other, he isn't exclusive to Southington, has seen this outside of our town and didn't say anything to the contrary and seemed very pleased. So I would hate to hold it up knowing that he was sitting there. We held that meeting and he was part of it. And Paul,
Okay.
maybe to your point, like,
Yeah.
maybe we can adjust it later if we find that there's a need to.
Yeah, if they're watching this meeting tonight and they go, oh yeah, I never really thought about that, and Lou feels the same, then we can always adapt. There's no issue with that, right, Town Manager? Okay. So what do you guys want to do?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax abatement recommendation for manufacturers outside the enterprise zone.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion?
No, I think it's just important to highlight that, we could always add or change or increase it, so it's not like it's set in stone. So even if this does pass and, Lou starts, thinking in a different direction in a few months, he could definitely present something back to the economic strike and then come back to the council.
Okay.
And I'm wondering too, if with this business, I mean, they're looking at a 40% for 5 years. Would they potentially we would grandfather them in if, I mean, that would have to be a discussion because that's what they're,
Or they don't act
That's the
on it
next
between
vote.
now and the next meeting.
pardon?
Or they don't act on it between
Or they
now and the
don't
next
act.
meeting. If they
Right,
don't,
right.
if they want to seek an alternative, then,
Yeah.
but, I mean, to Mike's point, I mean, the committee did look at this and they did recommend it, so,
And it was unanimous. Yeah.
okay, Chris?
The other point too is, just to think about the 40% for 5 years, a company potentially is making an investment. So potentially they could pay off that investment by the end of the fifth year where now they're ready to pay their full tax roll. So, that's another good point too, that maybe that gives them that 5 years to pay off that investment fully before taking on the additional tax cost.
Yep, okay.
I always like to think of these as someone maybe sitting at home right now with an investment ready to go, and they're just a little short. What can we do to make up some money? What can we do to save a little money and probably not give it our all, give it our 100%? Something like this comes along and say, oh, now we can get a little break on our taxes. Let's go forward. Let's take the leap. You know what I mean? So that's something we have to think about as well.
Yeah, and obviously any lender that's a nice.
Thanks, Jack nailed it.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Dietzick,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Chaplinsky.
Mr. Del Santo, the toothpaste is back in the tube. Yes.
Right.
Okay, item B, action on tax abatement request of Juniper Lighting, 15 Water Street, 115 Water Street.
I'll
Should put my
make a
glasses on.
motion to approve the tax abatement as outlined previously in the meeting for Juniper Lighting at 115 Water Street.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Dietzick,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Item C, action on small cities CDBG resolution.
Motion to approve is presented by the town manager.
Second.
A motion and a second from Chris and Mike. Any discussion? Let's call the roll on the resolution, please.
Dietzick,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes unanimously for the CDBG resolution. Item D, scheduling a public hearing for police traffic ordinance. We're looking for a motion to schedule that for June 23rd, 2025, 7 PM.
So moved, Mr.
Sec-
Chair.
Second?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
With the change.
With the changes that were discussed tonight.
With the changes that were discussed tonight, you modify your
No, I'll modify my,
motion in the second?
my motion.
Okay.
So
Discussion, Jack.
So I have a question. So it states in there that, it shall change based on the town's resolution. My, I guess, question would be, and we don't have to have the answer tonight, when was the $50 established? would be more my concern is, do we look at that too and it may be 60 today like versus the 50 that we currently had? I don't know what year that was established.
Sure. Let's ask the town manager.
It's been 50 for a very, very long time.
So with the cost of vehicles and inflation of everything, I would just look at maybe what other towns are doing, and it states in there that the town council could have a resolution later. So we don't have to act on it now or to move this, but I would love to see what other towns are charging to be competitive and maybe get the chief to tell us what the breakdown is, for depreciation on those vehicles, because they only have a shelf life for so many hours. So just so that we can make sure we're not losing money.
Yeah, so just one second. Just for the chair of the committee, because I think the chair of the committee also was involved in some of the discussions, and then you can.
I'm sure he's going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jeff, we did kind of discuss that. So that's a fair point. I mean, maybe want to go up. We didn't want to spend, make too much money, but that is a fair point. I don't know how long ago it was.
Yeah, just, again, a vehicle in the last, 10 years has, doubled pretty much in price. So it may be a good opportunity just to look at it and just make sure that we're not losing.
So for the town attorney?
It was essentially the same thing. All I was going to suggest is the chairman did address this on a couple of meetings. Captain Armack sat on the commission, and it was his recommendation to stay at 50, although there wasn't a substantive conversation on that. That was one of the topics that were discussed. But I think, as the chairman of the commission said, it's certainly something worth exploring.
Well,
But
can
it
we
was a
see what
topic.
our neighboring towns are doing? Because, we do go to neighboring towns, so hypothetically, if Meriden's 75, we're sending a cruiser there, now all of a sudden they're getting a discount, at the taxpayer's dime, the Southington taxpayer's dime, and I'm not, going to be in favor of that, by any means. So maybe
I'll
look
make-
at our neighboring towns that we have that agreement with and just see where they're at with their police vehicles.
Of course, I'll make some phone calls and report to Mr. Dezek, if you'd like, or report to the council as a whole next meeting.
And if you're making calls, also touch base with Captain Armack as well.
Of course.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion and a second with the stipulation to the changes around the $50, 25 to 50. Any further discussion? Okay, then the motion is to schedule a public hearing for June 23rd, 2025, 7 PM right here. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously for the public hearing. Similarly, item E, scheduling a public hearing for blight ordinance, same thing, June 23rd, 2025, 7 PM here. And also, I think we also said, as per our previous discussion, especially around the topic of, what does the civilian component of this look like?
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing pending the changes that you just outlined.
It's a TBD. Basically, civilian is TBD with some investigation, I think, as agreed by the town attorney.
That's correct.
Second.
Okay. So who made the motion? Was there an initial motion?
Chris.
Okay, and Mike, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the public hearing date? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 11, new business tax refunds.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the tax refunds that are presented in our packets.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Jack and Bill. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Thanks, everybody, for a good meeting. Appreciate it. Looking for a
Mr. Chair, I'd
motion.
like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second?
All in favor? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?